Hey there, and welcome back. So, Carlos Lastra could be in a lot of trouble and be facing some serious consequences for speaking out in that interview. Stay tuned because we're going to get into that, but I'm just going to do a little bit of back history for those that don't know. So, a skateboarder, Carlos Lastra, who was a skater for Braille skateboarding at the time, was accused by another fellow skater of the same group, Nigel Jones, that he allegedly ended up touching a minor inappropriately. So this all started because Carlos ended up reaching out to Nigel, trying to apologize and basically move on with their lives and squash the beef. He responds basically stating that aside from being an absolute raging alcoholic while filming and teaching kids, he failed to hold himself accountable for talking and trying to get with an underage girl, sending pics of himself in underwear and asking her what she wears, which is not okay, sober or not. Nigel continues stating that that's not even all you've done with someone underage, refuses to come skate with us after the day they were with her. You made that girl feel violated. I doubt you even know what you did because you were beyond drunk that day. None of that shit is okay, and yet Braille gave you an easy cop out and didn't say shit about anything at all. In my opinion, especially since how they did Fetty, you need to hold yourself accountable and face the facts of what's been done, own up to your mistakes. Nigel states, I get you're trying to turn your life around, and I'm stoked to hear that, and I hope you do turn your stuff around, but I cannot and will not excuse anything for both instances with those girls. Carlos states, okay, I didn't do anything with the girl. I met her one day. I did drink, and I own up to that. I'm not proud. I'm just a social guy. I was apologizing for how we would bump heads. I was wrong for that, and it seemed that way. I'm sorry, bro. Congrats on being married. The reason I didn't say anything about Braille because I wanted you all to still have a job, you know. I just had to leave. I'm just asking for forgiveness. If not, I hope the best is all for you. Nigel then responds, you groped up on her when you were trying to help, up when she clearly didn't need the help. She literally told us you touched her boobs when she didn't even need the help. See, man, you don't even realize the stuff you've done. Stop drinking, bro. You've done so much damage with that. Give it up. I hear what you're saying, and all is good, and good luck with your life, bro. I can't forgive you. That underage stuff ain't a joke, and I don't take it lightly. That's not something that can just be pushed aside. Like I said, you need to be held accountable one way or another. All Carlos said in response was, just know I've stopped drinking since my dad died, and know that I'm sorry for everything. Wishing you all well, and congratulations on going pro. You deserve it. So the conversation between Nigel and Carlos was pretty damning in itself. Carlos did admit in the one message that he didn't do anything with the girl that he met her one day, and he did admit to drinking, and everything else that Nigel accused him of, he just basically ignored and didn't even respond to. So keeping those messages in mind, this is where things get quite interesting, and it's when I actually reached out to Carlos and got him to come forward and speak to me in this really bad interview. So I'm not going to go over the whole interview because it's super long. I'm just going to go over the main points of where Nigel accused Carlos of allegedly doing these things and his response. And some of them were actually really damning, and he can be in a lot of serious trouble now. One of them, he basically said that you sent like photos to an underage girl of yourself in underwear.
Nah, man, that never happened. There was no underwear at all. I don't even send underwear to my girlfriend to this day.
The one was that he was sending photos back and forth with girls or asking to get photos. Until there's actual any proof of this, Carlos denies any of this, but you never know. There might be some evidence coming forward later. Nigel also accuses Carlos of drinking and being drunk when doing lessons or being around other skaters, and Carlos actually surprisingly admits to that.
Look, it was just a lonely life, excessive drinking. I admit to that, and the guilt will never leave my life.
So he denies any photos, denies the conversation, admits to drinking and having those issues, and then the major one is the accusations of him touching a girl inappropriately. Also, there was an incident where you were like helping a girl skate, and he claims that like you touched her inappropriately when you were trying to help her.
Honestly, if I did, it was a very honest accident. You know how you catch a fellow skateboarder. I don't know what happened, and if it was like derogatory or anything, it was an accident.
Yeah, no, I
Like you know,
I teach
you
so.
know how you catch your fellow skateboarder. I was just trying to like protect a person
Yeah, no,
so they don't fall down. It was an honest accident, and if anybody knows me personally, lately especially, like I did not do anything derogatory or anything on that platform. Like it was just, I was just trying to help out a fellow skateboarder. It was like an honest mistake, I guess. It was just something that I was just trying to help out a fellow skateboarder. Like that's my argument.
And this is where Carlos Lastra can be in a lot of trouble over this. So in the messages between him and Nigel, he says nothing happened, denied anything even happening. And then when I actually talked to him, he stated that something did happen and that it was an accident. She fell, he went to catch her, and he might have and touched her inappropriately. And if he did, it was by an accident. And that's where Carlos is going to get in a lot of trouble, and that him even admitting to that can actually bring a case towards him. From what I understand, the girl wasn't a minor, so people are bringing that up and blowing it out of proportion to make it seem like a really bad situation. Regardless if it was a minor or an adult, inappropriate touching is not right, and anybody that does that should be held accountable. And this is a thing, accident or not, he can still be held responsible. So this is what I find really crazy is that between Carlos and Nigel, Carlos denies absolutely anything. And then when I started talking to him, he ended up saying that if it did happen, not admitting to it right away, that it was possible, and if it did, it was an accident. Then a little bit later in the interview, he finally admits that she fell, he went to catch her, and that if he did touch her or grab her inappropriately, that it was by accident. And that's the thing, is accident or not, touching somebody, depending on if they state it was an accident or not, this can actually bring a case forward and Carlos can be in a lot of trouble. So if the victim decides to come forward now and state that it was an accident, then nothing happens. But if the victim comes forward and now says, yeah, no, it wasn't an accident, and I'm accusing Carlos of doing this inappropriate action, even if he was catching me, I feel like this was inappropriate. This will bring a case forward in an investigation against Carlos, and then if they're willing to go to court, he'll actually have to fight it. So Carlos Lastra can be actually in some serious trouble now. And this is the thing, is a lot of people gave me a bunch of negative feedback and flack on this interview, saying it was soft, I was glazing him, it was a joke. But a lot of people don't realize is that Carlos wasn't going to speak out. He didn't want to speak to Dan, he didn't want to speak to anybody else. And when I talked to him, I didn't want to like grill the guy and make him go silent and basically not state anything. And you can say whatever you want, it's all good, you're entitled to your opinion. But without that interview and without him coming forward and speaking, and actually him admitting that it was an accident and something happened, there wouldn't be even the grounds of pursuing to the point of actually having a case. Because I'm pretty sure if Brian or Dan interviewed him or anyone else, they would have just grilled the heck out of him and he would have just went silent. He wouldn't have spoken out. At least with this really bad interview, I was able to get him to talk, and him talking pretty much shot himself in the foot if the victim comes forward now. So you have to keep in mind that if Carlos decided to go silent and not say anything, there could have been a police investigation, and chances are there wouldn't have been enough grounds to actually bring this to court if there is a case. And due to this interview and talking to him, him admitting that there was something that happened and an accident, as he puts it, there is now like a possibility that if the police get involved and do an investigation, that they can actually present this as a case to the courts, and that's where he now Carlos can be in a lot of trouble because if it gets to that point, then he's going to have to defend himself in a court of law. But that's only if the victim decides to come forward and decides to want to pursue that action. So if the victim doesn't come forward, I don't believe that there will be an investigation and there isn't a case. But if the victim does come forward, then Carlos Lastra is in some serious trouble. But let's just say hypothetically, victim doesn't come forward. He admitted that it was an accident. It's just a matter of do you believe that it was an accident or do you not believe it was an accident? And Nigel's word of accusing him and whether or not we believe him or we don't believe him. So if a victim doesn't come forward, then Carlos already admitted to it and stated it was an accident and it wasn't intentional. So based on that, Nigel is slandering and defaming Carlos, so he could be in a lot of trouble for that. But if a victim does come forward, and if the victim does come forward, then Carlos Lastra is in a lot of trouble. And there's possibly going to be then a police investigation. You'll have to go to court. But this is the thing, is that everyone is innocent until proven guilty, and we would have to wait to see what happens with it if it does go that route. or the victim comes forward and says it was an accident. So it's just a big he said, she said thing until the victim comes forward. And if the victim does come forward, like I said, well, there's definitely going to be a police investigation, and Carlos is going to have to probably defend himself in court. All because of that horrible interview that I gave him. And you all think that I was glazing him and, basically doing all this stuff. Even Dan and Brian were like jumping on it saying, yo, this dude doesn't know how to interview people. It's so bad. It's just so cringe. But I got him to speak out. I got him to admit to what happened, regardless if it was an accident or not. Now there's actually enough evidence if the victim comes forward to take Carlos to court if they go that route. Innocent until proven guilty, but clearly that's not the case when it comes to the public view and opinion. We'll just leave it at that, but if there's any more updates, I will definitely inform all of you. And I just want to say thank you all for the love and support. Even the haters, love you, much love. And I guess I'll keep you updated if there's anything else. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. God bless you all. Take care and peace out.